This is Joe Kronk coming at you from Johnny Rock on Sports. This is the first in the series of interview series. And you may have heard of, the best damn sports show on the net. Forget the best damn sports show over there. This is the best damn sports show, Johnny Rock on Sports. And we really appreciate your time, guys. And I have the immense privilege, actually, to interview the very first guest, which is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Johnny Rock. Hey, John, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm a legend in my own mind, I guess you could say, but it's all good. Great to be with you today, buddy.
Great. Well, great having you. Let's kind of start at the beginning, John, and really tell the audience and the folks out there where you're originally from, where you grew up, and did you have a love for sports at an early age?
Yeah, Joe, I live here in Granite Bay, California, and have for over 30 years now. But I grew up in a small farming community in Western New York, actually on a recreational lake area as well, called Canisius Lake, a place called Livonia, New York. I was born in Rochester, New York. My family, long family history there. My grandfather was the oldest of 9, and he was really, there was a big family event there all the time. So, and sports was always part of it. I can remember sitting on my grandfather's knee watching the Packers in the early 60s and really watching hockey on Sundays as well. And our whole family is Yankee fans, as you can see over my shoulder here. But yeah, I delivered paper when I was a young boy, about 12 years old. And I remember I would stop by the nursing home every day and I would read the sports section. And I was like 11 or 12. So yeah, fell in love with it early.
Oh, that's awesome, John. It's Sunday football day right now. So, depending on where you're watching, but we always go back and forth and trash talk. And I think that's half of the fun with sports, definitely. So yeah. What were some of your favorite teams growing up? And were you playing sports in, let's say, junior high school, high school? How's that look for us?
Well, I had a favorite team. I mean, when you turned on football on Sunday, you remember there was only 3 channels in the early 60s. But when you turned it on, there was usually a game on, and the game, because the Green Bay Packers were the champions of the 60s, the Packers were on a lot. And I really fell in love with Green Bay Packers at an early age, and Bart Starr was my favorite player. And, I just dug that. And far as other sports, I was a Celtic fan, Boston Celtics in basketball as well. I've always been a Yankee fan. And, you can only imagine the tradition there. You either love them or you hate them. That's one of them deals. But because I was from Western New York, this Buffalo Bills team kind of grew on me, especially in the early 90s when they made that 4-year run at the Super Bowl. I thought that was a fabulous team to watch. But I also love hockey, and I've been involved in, all kinds of sports as a young guy. I mean, I played sandlot sports. I never knew I was that good, really, to tell you the truth. I just thought that it's what kids did. But I was okay, but I wasn't able to play football till my freshman year because we didn't have a peewee team in my town. But I did play a lot of baseball. I made the Little League All-Star team my first year playing. And I had a talent and a love for baseball and a passion. And, in 7th and 8th grade, I wrestled. I didn't end up wrestling in high school because there was no cheerleaders.
Good reason. So I know you were pretty famous in high school, though, John. What main sports? You touched on it a little bit, but what main sport did you play in high school?
Well, I was one of those kids that couldn't wait till that 8th grade assembly meeting where they were going to introduce us to high school sports and football, and we were going to, sign up for football. And I remember sitting in that auditorium in 8th grade and thinking to myself, man, I can't wait to play, because in 7th and 8th grade, I traveled to every game watching the varsity play every week in my hometown of Livonia, New York. I was a true bulldog. And so I remember sitting in that auditorium, and some of the folks that will watch this video will giggle about this, but it was true. I remember turning to the guy next to me and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to play varsity football as a freshman." And I was pretty serious about it. I wasn't awful big kid, but I was stout. And, that really happened. I dressed every varsity game as a freshman. I didn't play hardly at all, but I dressed every and traveled with them. And then I played 3 years varsity football. But I had a love for baseball as well. And I turned out to be an okay basketball player. I got a lot better after high school. Couldn't put the ball in the rim. I looked good going to the rim, but I couldn't put it in for whatever reason. But really, one thing that happened in 1975 that kind of changed my life, we had a heck of a football team, and we went undefeated. We were tops in the state, and we scored a lot of points, and we broke a 21-game winning streak from our arch rival. That was pretty cool. I was able to this is one of my claims of fame. I scored 10 touchdowns the first 3 games of my junior year. So I was running back and had a lot of fun with that. I was a catcher in baseball. So I really got to see baseball at a high level and football at a high level and understand sports. And we were pretty competitive in my little hometown. So, that's kind of how that went.
Well, I know, John, you had a pretty famous nickname in high school too. Let our folks out there, I know what it is, but let our folks out there know what that is.
Well, because I went to high school in the early 70s, and we were about 50 miles from Buffalo, and we know who played in Buffalo as a running back then, or if you don't, you're going to learn here in a minute. His name was O.J. Simpson, and he was absolutely one of my idols. I loved the way he ran the football. I loved the whole thing about him. And for some reason, somebody one day, because my last name's Simpson, somebody called me OJ. And then, my sophomore year, I got that number. I got number 32. So I wore Simpson on the back of my jersey. I kind of lived up to it. I mean, I think one of the things that happened to me was my junior year, I scored more touchdowns than O.J. Simpson. So I feel like I was so with all the bad things about O.J. Simpson, there was a beautiful thing he did in football, and that was my nickname. I still today can pick up the phone, call somebody at home and say, "Hey, it's John." And they go, "Who?" And I go, "It's O.J." And, "Oh, O.J., what's going on?" So that's kind of how it went.
I thought you were going to say you could pick up the phone and call OJ. That's pretty tough to do these days, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, John, because this is so important to so many, especially kids growing up too. Did you have in sports, did you have a favorite, let's say, coach that really inspired you along the way?
Well, I think we all end up with someone like that in our life, or if you're not blessed to have that, that's what we all look for. But yeah, I had a tough younger life. I was fairly off the charts. I was on the edge of trouble all the time. But I had my sophomore year, we had a new football coach come into our hometown and become coach. His name's Mike Haw. And he's a legend in that town now. But he took me under his wing and really helped me see what a man looks like. I didn't really have a dad, so I had to have a man in my life. My uncle really was like my dad, my grandfather. But, a man outside of my family, like a football coach, really make a difference. And I'll tell a quick story, and this story is going to crack everybody up here. But, yeah, I had a pretty good freshman year. I was a pretty good running back on the JV team. And, I was going to play varsity football as a sophomore. And Coach Haw, the summer, he called me into his office. He interviewed all the players that were coming into varsity, told them about their workout for the rest of the summer, did that. And he called me in his office, and he sat me down. And he goes, "Simpson, I've heard a lot about you." And I got a little cocky. I went, "Yeah, that's cool. He already knows about it." He goes, "And it's not all good." And I went, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" And so from then on, I knew who was king and who was boss. And still today, Mike Haas is one of my favorite people on the planet. And, I just couldn't have been more blessed. I also had another coach. His name was Gene Baker that, I didn't have the immense respect for him that I do now then, but he was pretty important to me.
That's great, John. So, what sticks out in your mind, I would say, is some of kind of the highlights in your playing days. And did you play college ball after that?
Yeah. First, that's that junior and our senior year in football. We did very well. We only lost 2 games in 3 years, and we lost them to the same team, but we beat that team one year. That was pretty much an incredible thing when you get to play at that high level and do that. I led the area in scoring. That was kind of a highlight for a while, my junior year. I made all-county, all-state team as a junior and senior. But one of the things that was fun was what I did. One of my favorite, it wasn't homecoming weekend, but I broke a run off at the 20-yard line, our own 20, and ran 80 yards for a touchdown once. That was kind of a highlight. That's pretty unreal when you get to do that. Life is never the same. And then one of the other things I did in my senior year, we had a pretty good baseball team, and I was a catcher, and I got to hit a grand slam home run to win the game. And I'll tell you what, life is never the same once you're able to do that. And all these things have helped me to be successful in my business. I've been a contractor for over 30 years in the brick, block, stone, and concrete business. And, overcoming obstacles you learn through sports. And I think that's what's important that I want to engage in is how sports can really affect your life.
That's awesome, John. And I can tell you, I've never done any of those things. So I can't feel how that was, but I was actually a pretty good pitcher and a shortstop. So that was my claim to fame, but I never made it to that level. So that is really awesome. But, I wanted to touch on also, John, that I know you were in the Marines and wondered, for the folks out there, if you played any sports and really how that shaped your life as well as sports and the Marines and business. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, Joe, and you asked me about college. I went to Albany State University. I played football there. There was over 15,000 undergrads at that school. I was a big fish or a little fish in a big pond there. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I played 1 year football, baseball, and college, and then I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I took some time off and was going to think about it and went to work, and one thing led to the other, and about a year and a half later, I ended up joining the Marine Corps, and because it was time for me to grow up and be a man and do what I needed to do to make my own way, right? I mean, I need to get out of my hometown. I need to get away. I've never been west of Buffalo, and I was 20 years old. So I joined the Marine Corps in midsummer. I had a friend home on recruiter's duty, and we talked for hours one night, and I definitely, it drew me in, and I went, and I was in some pretty good shape. So I went into the recruiter's office in Batavia, New York the next day, and I said, hey, I want to go, and I want to go as soon as possible. He goes, well, you can leave tomorrow. I go, maybe that's a little too soon. And but he said, hey, 13 days later. So anyway, I ended up in California. I went to boot camp in California. I was stationed in California. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was a weightlifting instructor and a bouncer in a nightclub. And, I was hanging around the Southern California scene. And, I got to meet my future wife down there. And, it's all history. Now I'm a Californian, So, but that was the best thing I ever did with my life, joining the Marine Corps.
That's great. So what would you say overall how sports have shaped your life? And I know that you've had your own business, you've run your own business for 25, 30 years. Tell the folks out there a little bit about that and again, how you balance all that. That's crazy.
Well, I knew I was an entrepreneur early on. That's really why I left college. I just couldn't see myself penciled into a box. I knew I had some creative something in me, and I didn't know what it was then. I really didn't learn. But I went to work in between when I left college and I joined the Marine Corps. I went to work for a mason contractor, just laboring, but I loved the hard work and I love to build. I love to create, right? And that was part of who I became. And really, I think sports helped teach me that I just wasn't average, I mean, I think one day my football coach pulled me in the office and he says, the difference between you and a lot of guys on this team? And I don't know, Coach, what's the difference? He goes, God gave you a little bit more. And I took that to heart. I knew I had something going in my life that was going to, be good for somebody else. And, I had to get rid of all the things that were going on that were wrong. And that took some years, but, I really go back to sports and those double days and those days where you didn't want to. Heck, I hitchhiked to football practice before I got a car. I did whatever it took to get to practice. And, needless to say, anybody from Livonia that knows me knows that I was a hard charger. And, I like to have fun, which hasn't changed at all, to tell you the truth. I just do it a little more legal now. But, yeah, sports was really what rounded me and kept me sane, because I had an inner drive within me. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have sports. I would have really, truly been in trouble.
So let me ask you, John, what makes you want to be kind of a sports personality like Johnny Rock on Sports? I love that name. And, there's a few more channels than 3 now, and it actually hit me. Man, you're old. No.
Yeah.
We're both old. So, what does that look like, and what really drove you to want to, be out there and give your viewpoint?
Well, if you understand social media like I do, it's everywhere, and everybody's got a take on something, their favorite team, their favorite sport, their whatever. Everybody's got a take. And a few years back, my brother-in-law and I had a little sports show called the Two Fat Guys Sports Show. Pretty amazing when you think about it. But we had a lot of fun with it, and it's really blue-collar sports TV. It's like talking about sports the way we talk about sports around the back of a pickup, having a beer in the bar, whatever. It's how we talk about sports. And I really think that this is something that I'm passionate about. And I really want to interview folks that have played sports either at a high level or, they played pee-wee football. Doesn't matter, because it's a communication thing. And I think I could have a lot of fun with it. Technology's making it so easy, just like what we're doing here. You can be across the country and we can interview each other, and I can ask the pertinent questions, and, we can see personalities, we can do things. So anyway, that's really why I'm passionate about it. And I really think that it's a platform. Hey, I am getting older, to tell you the truth. And, I don't know where the monetary side of this happens, if it happens, but you never know unless you swing the bat, right?
No, I love it, John. And, you and I have talked about this many times, that I really personally believe too, that there's a real need for what you're kind of calling the blue collar sports, to me, and we do it all the time. We go back and forth. We trash talk. To me, sports has become a little bit too monetary, if you will, too politically correct, too slick. So I really think there's a big need actually for what you're doing. So how does Johnny Rock on Sports look in 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? What are your goals for it?
Well, out the gate, I want to make it a pretty much a video blog, just something of me interviewing folks. And I have some great folks right off the top of my head that interview friends of mine. I've got a pretty decent social media following. I just want to dig in and find those gold nuggets that people have, those things, you know, that people can talk about that nobody else can. But, you know, the video blog could turn into almost anything, you know, for me. I'm looking for a way to have fun, release my energy on sports. I mean, I'm that guy, you know, I watch 2 sports at once. I'm the best at going back and forth between channels with a remote control. And then I have my tablet next to me. I might have my phone going, reading up on sports. I'm a little bit sick about sports, and I try to balance that. And I'm introducing myself to some new sports. I really think I want to understand cricket of all things, you know? So that's kind of crazy, but my team, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I'm a Yankee fan. Love to see the Buffalo Bills do it again one day, but who knows there. Yeah, that's it. It's just in 6 months, a year, I'd love to be having fun, just as much fun as I'm having now talking to you.
That, again, that's awesome, John. I really think it comes down to passion and your passion for sports. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people, you know, that don't want to watch or sick of really the big slick sports shows and want to know what's going on the street, the interviews, the opinions, you know, your opinions. Again, I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that. And it's really been my pleasure to interview the first sports rock star, Johnny Rock, on sports. And I can tell that this is going to be a big hit, John. And we're going to have some fun. I know you're going to have some fun with this. And I think a lot of people, again, will resonate with this and really will connect with your passion.
Awesome, Joe. I just thank you for taking a little time to do this. And I thank everybody that's watching this video. You know, a lot of people think they know me through social media, you know, but, you know, you don't really get to know somebody unless you really spend time with them. And I'm learning more about, you know, text messages versus talking face to face. It's 2 different worlds. And so that's what I want to do. I want to communicate at a high level, get people to know me, and I want to get to know people. That's pretty simple. Isn't that what world's all about? You know, just getting down and dirty and talking about things. So, you know, with that said, you've been a good friend for a long time, Joe, and I appreciate, you know, you, and we're bi-coastal here. So
that's it. And right back at you, John. That is for sure. And I don't know how to get I don't know how to get you back here. So I'm going to have to close it out and say, again, it's been my privilege, my pleasure, John, to interview you. The very first interview of Johnny Rock on Sports, sponsored by Sports Rock Stars. You guys rock and roll and keep your passion for sports, and we will see you on the other side.